Anyone who's watching this that's thinking about their life purpose and trying to discover a sense of meaning in why they're here has probably felt lost, confused, and directionless at some point. You probably feel like everybody else has everything figured out, like they know the direction that they're moving in, that things seem to happen in their lives for them really easily. And why does that not happen for you? Why do you still have this sense of, what is it that I'm meant to be doing here with my time on this planet, and what is this all for? Today, I want to talk about why you feel lost, confused, and directionless, and what this actually means for you. So the real reason that you feel lost is not because you have got no ambition, or that you're not disciplined enough, or that everybody else's lives are just going to be easier than yours, and that you're destined to have this miserable existence of no purpose. It's not that. It's most likely that these other people who seem to have it all figured out are following predetermined pathways of success, things that their parents have done, that society have done, that school has taught them to do, that they have felt some sense of attraction to, and they have followed that path, and maybe they did find their partner, and they did start a family, and they did buy their house, and they did do all those things before you have done them. And maybe that's their path in this lifetime. Cool, great for them. But maybe it's just not yours. That box that people live in, that most of society live in, with the predetermined jobs, success, career paths, with all those metrics that they measure their lives by, which is basically money, stability, image, productivity, those kinds of criteria, they just might not be the ones that set your soul on fire in this lifetime. They might not be the ones that your life purpose is related to. And it's not to say that money's not important. We obviously live in a world where it's needed. It's not to say that stability is not important, because we obviously live in a world where that's needed to a degree also. It's not to say that being somewhat productive is not important, because otherwise we never get anything done in this manifest 3D reality. But what happens when that's the only thing that we live our lives by is we start making decisions that are filtered through those lenses. And what happens when you start to be able to see outside of those lenses is that you will see new paths and more creative ways forward, and organic things and adventures that will unfold that just couldn't have unfolded if you'd have stayed on the path that everybody else walks. And if that's a calling in you, you know that you're lost, you know that you're confused, you know you're directionless, because none of these paths that are already there, they just don't feel good. There's nothing inspiring to you about going and choosing to live any of them. If that's you and that's how you feel in this situation, then it might just be that those things are not your path. And this is all part of the journey. So in this process of realizing that that is not for you, it's like an initiation. And it is an opportunity for you to say, well, I'm either just going to suck it up and jump right on in and become a corporate person, or any other kind of steady Eddie normal person in the normal world. And you can either choose to do that and find a level of fulfillment in relationships, in your friends, in your social circles, whatever, or you can say, fuck that, that's not for me. And you can choose your own adventure, literally. We live on a space rock flying around in the cosmos, and it's an absolute miracle that we are here in the first place. So to believe that these predetermined paths that have only existed for the last 300 years since the Industrial Revolution anyway, are the only ones that are available to us is wild. And it's so limited, and it's such a small perspective to have on the massive potential that exists within this world. There are people out there now who are building all kinds of crazy tech, like greenhouses that eat food waste, that turn it into electricity. There are people coming up with giant 40-foot plastic-eating mushrooms that create new products at the end of the process. There's people doing all kinds of shit. There's people who get paid to go walk around on Instagram and make videos giving money to other people. This is the world that we live in. It's a world of endless possibilities, endless opportunity, and we don't have to subscribe to anybody else's predetermined path. So your feeling of being lost, directionless, confused, it's just because you are, but because you're measuring your life and looking at your life from this lens of like what you've been taught is acceptable. When you take those glasses off and fucking trample on them and put them in the bin and start to see that it's this never-ending space for opportunity and living your life however the fuck you want, then a greater sense of meaning and purpose will come. That's what happened to me. So the shift that changed everything for me was two things. One was a relationship breakdown, where it was the first time that I'd really realised that like I was legit like the problem, or massive part of the problem. And the other was in a leadership training at work, where they asked us to reflect on our lives as if we were 60 years in the future. Think about our lives backwards. And I realised that I was on track to having 2 holidays a year, buying a house, having a pension, and being bored as fuck, basically. And so when I realised that, it was just a horrifying realisation that I just didn't want that for my future. And I still didn't know what I actually also wanted, but knowing that like I had to take responsibility for how I show up in life, in all facets, in relationships, in work, in my own health, all of those things, was empowering to me. And what it enabled me to do was go and stay with monks in Thailand. And when I came back from there, that's when I felt clear. I felt like connected to something bigger than myself, and I felt like I was finally okay with putting one foot in front of the other and making decisions as I go based on what feels good to me at the time. Like I wasn't sat there going like, oh, I need my retirement plan figured out at 27 years old, which I think keeps people trapped in believing that they have to follow this very specific path because they're trying to have their whole life figured out. It's like a tree when it gets first sprouting. It's not thinking about how can it possibly grow into the massive oak tree that it's going to be in like 200 years from now, and planning out every step. It's just like, oh, I'm going to fucking grow, and if someone puts a bike against me, I'm just going to like grow around the bike and be the bike oak in a few years, because it just grows as it goes. And that is also how humans are designed to grow. It's just that our society doesn't allow us to live in that way. So I moved countries, I left my job, went to live in a kung fu school, went to Bali, started online businesses, started working with 7-figure impact brands, left that behind, started my own thing. Like these were the things that I was then able to start doing, but each one of them, I didn't know what was coming next. I just kept going, oh yeah, that one feels good, that feels really juicy, oh my god, no, like I don't want to go back and work for my old company because they asked me to. And it's like following what feels right to you at the time. And I'm able to do that because, one, I changed the principles that I live by and stopped subscribing to society's bullshit. But also, two, like how can I hear that? How do I know what good feels like? How do I know what yes feels like? How do I know what, oh, this decision is the right decision and not this decision is the wrong decision? The reason that I'm able to feel that is because I've spent time clearing my channel. As a human, we're not just a 3D physical body. We're also a cosmic channel that receives information from our environment all the time, the cosmos, the earth, everything around us. And it becomes very visceral and very much a felt sense to know what's a yes and what's a no when you don't have a body full of shit, which is somebody else's beliefs and somebody else's opinions and society's expectations and blah blah blah, and your own bullshit, like your own woundedness, your own healing journey that also needs to happen. Once you become liberated, and it's a never-ending process, no one's a Buddha in this lifetime, but when you become more and more liberated, more and more whole or open or less full of shit, you hear your yeses and your nos much more easily. And there's a process to doing that. You don't need to look for more clarity. You don't need to have the next 20 years of your life planned out on paper. You just need to change the questions that you're asking yourself and change the rules that you live by. And there's a framework for that inside the How to Make Decisions That Change Your Life workshop. You just imagine living by completely different principles. So it's not, is this going to look good enough to my dad? It's, does this make me feel absolutely like juicy and excited and alive? It's what feels right for me? What feels true for me? What's my answer? That's what it feels like to live with a sense of inner authority. And the inner authority method is exactly what I teach you inside the How to Make Decisions That Change Your Life workshop. If that's how you want to feel, if you have been feeling lost, confused, directionless, you just click the link beneath this video. It'll take you right to the workshop. Watch it, implement it, and you will start to notice how much more of a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, and a sense of direction that you start to feel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.